Okay, let's now add the content for what we're going to use in our member edit template. And what we'll do for this actually, if we go to our member detail component and to its HTML, I'm just going to Control A, Control C, as a lot of this component is going to share similarities with the member detail component, but not so much so that I want to create a reusable shared component between them. So I'm just going to paste in the contents of that and we will make some adjustments. And we've got a bunch of error. We are going to use the tabs inside here actually. So let's go and add the import into our imports array, and we're going to be importing the tabs module. And that should get rid of a few of the errors inside here. And we're also not going to be using the gallery inside here either. And I'm going to take away two of these tabs, the gallery tab and the messages tab. And we'll do something with these tabs in a moment. We'll just sort out the top of the component first. And at the top, just above the div with a class of column 4, we'll just add a div and again give this a class of col-4 so it takes up that amount of space on the page. And we'll just add an h1 tag and say your profile. And below this column 4, we'll add a div with a column of 8, which is obviously going to display on the right hand side. And we're going to create a div with a class of alerts and alert-info. And inside here, we'll add a paragraph tag and a strong tag and say information, colon, and a space, and to the right of the strong tag we're going to say you have made changes, any unsaved changes will be lost. And let's just move that down a bit so I don't go off the edge of the screen. Okay, so the idea of this of course is to notify them that they're making a change to their profile, and if they do not save their changes then it's not going to happen automatically. So they would need to click the Save Changes button that we're going to provide. And then let's scroll down. We'll keep a lot of this. We'll keep their user info inside here. And where we've got our card footer, let's just cut one of these buttons. From here, we'll delete the button group. And I'm going to overwrite it with just a single button. And I'm going to give this button a col-12 so it takes up its full available space. And say Save Changes, and we'll change the button color from primary to success. And when we've got our tab sets, then inside this first tab we're going to have a form where they can edit their profile. Inside the second tab is going to go a place where they can edit their photos. So let's change this tab to edit photos, or change the tab header I should say. And I'll take out this content and we're going to say photo edit will go here. And then inside here we're going to effectively wrap what we have with a form. And we don't need the form action, so let's remove that. And then inside the form I'm just going to cut this content and put it inside. And we'll make some changes. Instead of this paragraph we're going to have a text area. And we'll give it a class equal to form-control so it gets the Bootstrap styling. And we're going to use template forms again for this one as well. So another thing that we need to import into our component is the forms module. So we'll add the forms module inside here, back to the template. And for our text area, let's move this down, as I'll probably go off the edge of the screen otherwise. And we do need to give it a name because we're working with a template form here, but we don't need the ID. So I'll leave the name for the time being, and we need the ng model for two-way binding. And we're going to give this the member.introduction for their description, and the name of this has to be introduction. Remember, Angular uses this to track the input. So it has to match the name of the thing, not the object name, but the property name. And because we're working in a text area, let's give it rows equals 6. And we'll also give our h4 a class and say MT-2 for margin top. So we need a couple more text areas. So I'm just going to copy the H4 and the text area and overwrite the content below twice. So below list description, in the next text area, we're going to have looking for, and inside here we're going to say the name is looking for. This is case sensitive, so it has to match what we're using here, as in matches exactly what the property name is. I'll show an example soon about what happens if we do forget to do that, or we use a different case because we're in a lowercase kind of mood, and show you what happens if you do that when we're testing our work here. And in the third one, I'm just going to say interests, and we'll change the name to interests and set this to member.interests. And below the text area, we'll just add a div for their location details. So I'm going to say div, and we'll give this a class. And we want this to be in a row, so we can use display flex, and I'll say d-flex. And its default for display flex is to line things up in a row rather than a column. And we're going to say align -items -center. And then we'll have a label, and I won't use the for property, and say city : and a space, and then we'll have an input that's going to be a type of text, and we'll use the ng model with the parentheses, and I'll say ng model equals and member.city, and we'll give this a class and say form -control, and we'll give it margin left and right, which is mx-2, and we need to give this a name as well. So let's start moving some of this stuff down, and we'll give it the name property, and we'll say city. And below this label and text, then we'll just copy this and paste it below, and this is going to be for the country, and we'll say member.country, and we'll have the name of country. And we'll also just go and copy the member detailed CSS as well, and just copy this into our clipboard, and we'll paste it into the member edit component.css as well. Because we're using encapsulation, then each component would need its equivalent styling as well. So if we go across and check our progress, then we can see that we have the user's profile, and we've got the inputs that we can type into, of course, and we've got an information thing at the top there that says you have made changes, even if we haven't made changes just now. And the location inputs, they're all squashed up against the interests input there, so we're missing a bit of code here. We need above this div and before that text area, we'll just add an h4, and we'll give it a class of margin top of 2, and we'll just say location details, and that should move the lower row of the inputs below the rest of them. Okay, so now we have this in place. Next we'll take a look at the functionality, so that when we do start typing in, our form is going to recognize that changes have been made, and then we can dynamically display that and do things like disable the button as well if there have been no changes that can be saved. And we'll take a look at that next.